Hello everyone, welcome to the next episode on ABAP on Cloud come RESTful Programming Model Training. In the last episode, we have given a close to our unmanaged scenario using RESTful Programming Model. In RESTful Programming Model, there are two types of scenarios, unmanaged and managed scenario. In unmanaged scenario, what happens is we always need to write the logic to call our business logic which is already written. Which what does it mean? It means it's a brownfield implementation. Whenever your company wants to implement unmanaged scenario, it means you already have some business logic available for your database table to insert, update, delete the data, which can be classes, which can be anything which is already there. Now it's more suitable for the cases where your company is using S4 HANA on premise 1909 plus above, because the RESTful programming model is available with S4 on premise from 1909 onwards. So you already have some business logic and you want to use new programming model. That's where the unmanaged scenario will come into picture. Now coming to managed scenario. In the managed scenario, as it says managed, what happens is the whole management of transaction processing will be done by the framework itself, the RESTful ABAP framework. So that's a greenfield implementation. You're building all together a new application. So that's what is called managed scenarios. And just take you to the PPT for, yeah. So in the managed scenario, it is basically a process where you just define your business object, and the business object, as you all know, is nothing but CDS views here, and then you will define your just behavior definition. The behavior implementation is not mandatory. Yes, guys. So last time you saw we've defined both the behavior definition and we also defined both the behavior implementation. But now in the managed scenario, only the behavior definition is mandatory. All the behavior implementation will be provided by framework. Look at this line, is very important to understand. So from the system, by using the framework, provide implementation. So all your crude methods, basic crude methods, last time you were writing the function module call yourself. You were calling slash dmo travel create, slash dmo travel delete. You were calling the functionality, database tables, classes, modules yourself. In the managed scenario, you were writing all your own logic, or you were using the logic which is written, but you were calling that logic which you had. But in managed scenario, you don't have to do that. In managed scenario, the framework will generate the necessary insert, update, delete on your business object. And I don't need to tell you the business object, it's nothing but your CDS data model. That's your business object. The managed scenario is a best fit for greenfield implementation. So I would also recommend those who are using ABAP on cloud, go with managed scenario. Okay. Those who are using ABAP on cloud, go with managed scenario. That's a best fit for ABAP on cloud greenfield implementation, because ABAP on cloud is almost completely new system for you and your company, and it makes sense to go with the greenfield in ABAP on cloud. You may not have existing logic because completely new product. You don't have existing fields, tables, functions, and stuff like that. It's completely new. So that's where the managed scenario is very helpful. Okay, you do not have a business logic with you and you want system to generate business logic with you. So that's what managed scenario, it's self managed by the framework. Of course, now you may say I want to add additional validations. Will I be able to do it? Because here you are saying the framework will generate the necessary insert, update, delete. Then where is the chance for me to generate the necessary validations? At times I need validations. Exactly. So that's where it gives you some hook points, so you can actually use it. So in on-premise system, you can use both managed and unmanaged. Both are possible. In S4 HANA 1909 plus, you can use both of them, but I just give you recommendation. My recommendation is in SAP S4 HANA 1909 plus, most of the time, because it's an S4 system, your business functionality is already present. Now, since it is present, go with unmanaged scenario. But even in S4 HANA on S4 HANA on-premise system, which is 1909 plus, you want to build a completely new set of tables, you want to build completely new set of design, you can go with managed also. Okay, it doesn't matter. And now the another question is, will it only work for custom table? Can I also use this for standard table? Yes, you can use managed scenario and unmanaged scenario both for custom and standard table. If you remember, in our BOPF CDS example of ABAP on HANA course, there was no possibility to use it for standard table because it doesn't give you the BOBF ID in the database table. To implement the functionality, the precondition was you should have BOBF ID as the primary key of your DB table, right? So that's when it was working. So that scenario in ABAP on HANA culture was more towards the custom tables. But here, both of these scenarios, the new RESTful ABAP programming is also fine to use the standard table. You saw that that's the reason I'm using all the standard tables which are offered by SAP in the flight demo model. Now, coming back once again to your basics of RESTful programming, this diagram you should never ever ever forget. Yeah, this is the main diagram. And if you also look at our study material which I published yesterday, this diagram is also given there in that study material. And just open that quickly for you once again to show you how does this diagram looks like in a standard SAP way. So I would request, if you're presenting RESTful ABAP programming model to your company, in your company, if somebody is asking you that, hey, can you give a presentation, let's say your manager may ask you to give a presentation. If you're doing so, don't take my pictures, take pictures from this diagram which is there in the document. So don't take my pictures from my PPT. So you can take the diagrams from this picture. I'm not sure if it's legal because it's copyrighted by SAP, but I would strongly recommend to use these standard diagrams. So if you come down, you see here is the same diagram, and you might have seen some presentations out there in the market, or when you if you attended a TechEd, you must have seen these presentations. So this is the overall big picture of RESTful programming model. At the bottom, at the heart of the programming model, you have CDS data models. That becomes your business object. So business object is nothing but your CDS. You see here, this is your business object. Your CDS is the business object. And then you have behavior definition, implementation. This is one way. Another way is just doing CDS definition. That's something basically for queries part. Then on top, you have something called business object projection. So suppose I have built an business object which is using 20 different tables or 200 tables. But now my Fiori app, the ultimate use of the Fiori app, it only need two table. Yeah, it only need to insert, update, delete two table. Would I expose all 200 table functionality to the Fiori app? I would not. So that's where the projection comes into picture. You can build the full scope at the bottom in the business object with all the functionalities: create, read, update, delete of all 220 100 tables. And what you can do for your context is your scope. So your scope right now is to just insert, update, delete in two tables. So for your scope, you can just suppress all 200 functionalities and just project only two tables out there for the purpose of your UI. So this is where projection layer helps you a lot. Now the benefit of this is, another benefit is security. Tomorrow in your company requirement changes, okay, or maybe there is more enhancement needed to functionality. You are never ever afraid that if I enhance this 200 plus 100 by mistake, sometimes if you do that, your this 100 table functionality is also exposed to the Fiori app. It will never happen because you are abstracted by the projection layer. So projection layer is what Fiori will talk to. Projection layer is what everybody will use. Let's say web API, for example, you are inserting sales order table. So this is the sales order table functionality. Plus you also started exposing a projection layer for sales order functionality, and somebody using your API to read write data in the sales order using web API. This is what somebody is doing. Okay, so in your company you have a sales order, and now you have exposed the sales order insert, update, delete functionality to a web API. What happens tomorrow? You enhance it with business partner also, but you don't want anybody to write data to business partner. You just enhance the functionality at the bottom layer, but you don't want that to happen. No problem, it will never happen, because your projection layer is not exposing this functionality to the outside world. So projection layer is like a context of what really needs to be exposed. Irrespective of this context, you can enhance n number of functionality in your bottommost layer, in your behavior data model layer, without being affected by the caller. So caller will never ever see. So you enhance more and more, it doesn't matter. This functionality will never be exposed to the caller unnecessarily until you enhance projection layer. All right. So you will understand also the power of projection layer. This is one benefit, which is like not exposing everything to the caller, only exposing what is needed to the caller. The second benefit is reusability. Tomorrow you want to build one Fiori app for sales order, another Fiori app for business partner. You can build parallelly two projection layer on same data model. So this is the full-fledged data model. This is full-fledged data model. From this data model, one projection layer you build for sales order, another projection layer you build it for products. Is that clear, guys? Why projection layer is helpful? So one scope or one context you build it for sales order, another context you build it for products. Clear, every one of you, how to do that? Sales order and products. Yeah. So this is the benefit of projection layer. We'll see some example in this context, in this scenario, for our managed scenario. So that's the overall big picture of RESTful ABAP programming model. So now let's understand how are we going to build the managed scenario. So we will in today's session look at the scenario goals. What is the our scenario and how are we going to build it? So let's start with our definition of use case. So what is our use case for managed scenario? So most of you also were demanding, Anubhav, can you showcase a use case where we have order header and order items? We have a kind of parent child relationship where we have one record, which with respect to that in another table we have multiple records. So we will also take that up as part of this use case. So we will cater to both of your questions. One is one-to-end relationship, how to handle with RESTful programming. Another is how does this projection layer helps me. Okay, this also we will understand it with the help of this example with managed scenario. Of course you can do similar stuff in unmanaged scenario also, but managed scenario is what I'll use, a perfect fit for ABAP on cloud use case. So now let's take our scenario. This is our demo scenario. In this demo scenario, I am working as a ABAP on cloud developer for one of the multinational, which is which has just taken the SAP cloud platform subscription. They want me to two Fiori apps in for the aviation industry. I would say travel industry. Okay. So I'm working with one of the multinational company. They are dealing in travel industry. Let's name this is let's say Make My Trip. So working with Make My Trip, and now this is the company which is responsible for doing different bookings for a travel. And now we want two Fiori application. Okay, let's understand what are all these two Fiori application. The first Fiori application, what is the responsibility? Okay, so in this first Fiori application, which is I call it as a processor application, what is that they will do? So guys, whenever you plan a travel, you contact a travel agent. Travel agent can be a website, or travel agent can be a person also. So most of us do contact travel websites like yatra.com, make my trip, Trivago, Expedia, right? We have then Agoda. A lot of these different travel companies, they are actually travel agents. So Make My Trip is also a travel agent. So a customer comes, or a set of customer comes, and they contact Make My Trip. They want to do some booking. So they will contact Make My Trip. The first question which Make My Trip will ask to these customers, so this is your Make My Trip, is where do you want to travel? What is your destination? What is your source? And what are all your start date and end date, and how many persons, right? Whenever you book a flight ticket, I'm sure you would have booked flight ticket, train tickets. These are all the bare minimum details which some travel agent will ask you. Now once you feed in this detail, it is possible, is also possible that to reach to the destination you may have connecting flights. As I mentioned earlier, suppose I want to travel to Europe. So when I was traveling to Germany in my for the first time, I had connecting flight to the Frankfurt from Dubai. So directly there was no flight to the Frankfurt. I have to take a flight from Mumbai. Mumbai to I went to Dubai, and from Dubai I've taken a connecting flight to Frankfurt. So that's one travel. Within one travel, how many bookings can happen? Anyone? How many bookings can happen within one travel? If I want to travel from point A to again back to point A to my home, how many bookings can have happen in one travel? Anyone? How many bookings you would see can happen in one travel? This is a very interesting scenario. If you not understand the functionality, then you will not be able to build it properly. How many bookings can happen in one travel? Multiple bookings, right? We can have multiple bookings while we are traveling. So what will happen is, this is Make My Trip. We find out all the details to them. So there is an agent who's sitting in Make My Trip. I call this agent, let's change the color to brown. Oops, not looking good. Yeah. So this is an agent. I call this agent as a processor. Okay. What is the processor does? The processor is nothing but the operator. There is some guy sitting in the makemytrip.com who will listen to your request, who will actually understand what you want to do, where do you want to go, and then this person will first of all create a travel request. He will propose you a travel itinerary. A travel itinerary will be created for you. He will propose your travel itinerary, that I'm giving you these many flights, these many hotels, these many booking of cabs, and this is your entire travel, how it is organized. So a travel itinerary will get created based on the request which was received by the travel agent. There is a processor who does this. After this is done, sometimes during festival, Make My Trip also gives you offers and discounts. So right now this itinerary won't be sent to the customer immediately. This itinerary will be then processed by somebody called processor. Okay. So this itinerary got created by the processor, and now there's another agent involved called approver. Who's approver? So suppose I have got a customer to my company Make My Trip, and I've proposed a travel. Now this guy, I've created an itinerary. In this itinerary, I will call this is call a travel request, which has multiple bookings. So I've got a travel request as per my duty. I looked into the travel request. So this travel request, of course, will have multiple bookings connecting flights, point A to point B, cabs, hotels. That's a complete itinerary. So I've created that. Under that, you have multiple bookings. So you have one to end relationship between one travel and bookings within the travel. Now there's another guy who's the approver. What is the approver does? Approver has to now give a sign off so that this particular itinerary can be sent back to the customer to close the loop, right? To quote the price to the customer, hey customer, we looked into your travel request and requirement, and we found this much it will be costing you in total. So that's a approver. So approver will finally can check the request created by processor. Approver can approve it. So what is the main duties of approver? He cannot, or he she cannot edit the request created by processor. Editing will be only done by processor. Approver can max to max edit, maybe let's say just the booking fees and description. The scope of approver is to allow editing of only two things. The processor can edit everything, but the approver can only and only change these two things. This is the scope. We call it as scope. He or she cannot do much of editing, but yes, the main scope of approver is to give approval so that this travel request can be sent to the customer. Okay, so that's the approval case. Now, can a processor approve? What do you think? Can a processor approve? Processor who created the leave request, can he approve? No. He can only create a request, travel request, and add bookings inside that with all the properties changeable. Okay. He can do all the properties changeable. He can change everything, but he or she cannot approve. अप्रूवल के लिए उसको अप्रूवर के पास ही जाना पड़ेगा. So that is the scenario. Is this clear, everybody? On your screen, is the functionality clear to everybody? What are all the two scopes we are going to develop throughout this managed scenario? Is the scope clear? If the scope is clear, so there are basically two scopes here. One is a processor, one is approver. Okay, there are two scopes. One is a processor and one is approver. That's why they need how many Fury apps? How many Fury apps do they need? Exactly, they need two Fury app, one for processor, another Fury app for approver. This is what they need. So our scope, our requirement is also to have two resulting UI, two different user interfaces, one for approver and one for processor. That's what we want. Now let's go ahead and first understand how are you going to do that. Okay, what is that you're going to do with maybe the reusability of the business object layer or the CDS layer? How do you achieve this requirement? Okay, so let's understand how do you do that. So first thing which you will be doing is you will be implementing something called a managed scenario. So we will be implementing a behavior definition. Now, since it's a managed scenario, behavior definition itself is sufficient enough. Okay, behavior definition is sufficient enough to implement basic create, read, update, delete. Okay, basic create, read, update, delete is sufficient. It is not mandatory to write implementation, but for validation purpose and other purpose, we will also write behavior implementation. So you will be writing your CDS data model. So let's first write top down. I'm writing what is that you will be developing. So first you will be developing CDS data model. This CDS data model will have multiple CDS views. Then you will have something called behavior definition. Okay, BO definition. Then this behavior definition is sufficient to perform CRUD operation because we are using managed scenario. Then optionally you can also write behavior implementation. This is optional in case of managed scenario for mainly purpose of validation, extra programming, extra processing. If you want to do, you can write it. I will just put this in a different color to show you that it's an optional. So just put it like this. Yeah. This is your behavior implementation. So this is optional. Now, okay, so for this behavior definition, now since you have two different use cases, two Fury apps needs to come. So ultimately outcome will be two different Fury apps. So Fury app 1 And then the second outcome is Fury app for, okay, is modeled with a CDS entity. So let me show you again this quick tree structure. So imagine this is your business object. So let's just do that. So this is the whole thing, it's a business object. This whole box, what do you see here? This whole thing is a business object. This whole thing is your business object, guys. Now this business object is a tree, as you can see. In this tree there is a root node, and these child nodes are composition to this tree node. Yeah, these are composition. You see, your parent is composed of childs. Okay, that's a tree data structure. Your parent is composed, that's what we've written. A business object consists of a tree entities that are linked by composition and aggregation. So you see, I would say composition would be the right word, because without that the tree itself won't make. If I don't have a composition, then tree won't make. Every entity in this composition tree is an element. So you see, this is an element. Okay, this is an element. So I just highlight the element. So this is another element. So just highlighted a different color. So they are elements actually. So different elements. Now which is modeled with a CDS entity. Now each of this element, what is it actually? In the system, when you're writing the code, what are you writing for this entity? Exactly, each of this is a CDS view. ये समझ में आया क्या? Is this clear, everybody? And this whole thing is your business object. In RESTful ABAP programming model, that's what the real business object is. It has nothing to do with BOPF framework. I've repeated multiple times, it has nothing to do with BOPF framework. This is what represents a business object in context of RESTful ABAP or RESTful programming model. Okay. Now coming to our scenario, what is that we are doing here? In our scenario, this scenario which we have, so what we is doing for our demo scenario, we will implement a two level tree. There will be two elements in the tree actually. That's what we will be implementing, two level tree, or I would say two level composition tree. Both cannot live without each other. They're mandatory. So now what we will have is, in this we will be having two level of tree. So the cardinality, so the first element will be travel in the tree, which is going to act like your root node, and second will be booking, which is going to act like a composition node to root, with relationship as 1 is to n, or I would say 0 is to n. Okay, or maybe 1 is to n, because if you're traveling, at least one booking will be there in your travel. Yeah, it is not possible that you're traveling without any booking. At least one booking will be there for sure in your travel. So now if you really look at this tree structure in our context, so there is something called travel. So I will call it as DM or travel table. This is your travel DB table. I would say this is your root entity, to be very honest. Basically it's a CDS view, right? It's a root marked as CDS view. And then this guy here is your bookings, which is your child entity. I would say composition child entity. This is also CDS view. Remember, just now we saw every entity in the composition tree is an element which is modeled as a CDS entity. So we will be having CDS views. for each one of them, one for booking and one for travel. Is this clear, everybody? Are you all clear how to represent composition in UML notation? It's represented with a filled rhombus. So let me just get a rhombus symbol. So it's represented using a filled rhombus. That's how the composition is implemented. Now, who will tell me what is the relationship between travel and booking? How many bookings one travel can have? How many bookings one travel can have? Who will tell me this relationship? Exactly. You have 1 to n, 1 to star, multiple bookings you will have it. Thank you so much, Pooja, for that answer. So that's what the relationship we will have. Is this clear, everybody? So this is one CDS view we will be building. This is another CDS view we will be building. So we will be building two CDS view. One CDS view on the travel database table, another CDS view on the booking database table. So currently, guys, I'm starting with step one, this guy. In our development phase, I'm starting with number one thing. This is number one, the first step for development. We will be building our business object or CDS data model to be able to achieve this guy. Clear, everybody? Are you all clear? How are we going to develop? So I'm slowly going towards the development of the views or the business object. So this whole thing combiningly known your business object. This is what your business object is in context of RESTful ABAP programming model. So system a RESTful ABAP will treat this guy as a whole unit. It will treat this one as a business object, and all the crude operations it does in context of business object only. Okay, that's what it does. Now, of course, each of this element of the tree, each of this element of the business object will have a corresponding um, behavior definition. So for this one behavior definition, for this one behavior, so you will have one total two behavior definition because you have two elements in your tree. So there will be two behavior definitions. Okay, so that you can write in one single file. So we will use one file in which we will write these two behavior definition, one for each. Remember, you can't write more than one behavior definition for one CDS view. It's exactly precisely one to one relationship. So we will be writing one behavior definition. This is one file actually. In this one file which you will be having, this particular file will contain the behavior definition for both. Okay, in single file actually. In single file we will be writing one behavior definition. So let's do these steps 1, 2 and 3. Let me do these three steps quickly in the system. So I'm going to go back to our ABAP on cloud system, and let's start writing our first CDS view for travel. The travel will have multiple bookings. That also, this relationship also I will show you how to write it in this system. So let's start with the travel CDS view. I'm not sure if we will be able to complete this scenario in today's class alone. We may need to extend it to the next two more classes to build it completely end to end because it's a big scenario. We will do it step by step. So just go and follow first this create this particular relationship right now. So I'm going to go back, create very first thing as your data model, your CDS for building your business object. Okay, it's asking me to log in now. No problem. Let me give my username password. Okay, it's authenticated successfully. Error occurred during fetching user ID. That's okay. And let's create now our data definition. What is it doing? It's giving an error. Error occurred during fetching user ID. Why it's giving this error, I'm not sure. It's stuck in an infinite loop. Just give a try again. Okay, so it worked. It seems So we can proceed now. So you can see our package will come up, and we will start favorite our package already. I'm just going to do Control Shift A and just open ZETS00, and you can click on this button out here in Eclipse. This is the button which will locate your package into the package tree. Yeah. So there are at times so many packages, so many objects in the system. In Eclipse, if you press this particular button, then it will actually take you to the position of that particular element on the package list. That's the benefit. So it is opening now, hopefully. Yeah, it opened. I just click on the button, takes me to the position where it is. Oh my god, we have 88 objects by far. Awesome. We are having highest number of objects, I think, in the system. Yeah, 88 objects we have got created. Awesome, guys. This is phenomenal. Nobody else has more than 15, 16. Yeah, we have alone 88 objects, and there's one more package which is next to my package, ATS20. I think this is Sai is creating by following our training. So he has created around 109. Good, Sai. Keep it up. So we have highest number of objects by far in the ABAP on cloud system. Cool. So now we will go inside, and what we will do is we will go ahead and create the CDS data model. So let's do that, data definitions, and I'm going to right click, and I will be creating new data definition. And let me write here something for manage scenario travel. So the first part of the composition tree, we will be building this for travel table, yeah, the root entity. So I'm going to come back and I say Z ATS 00, my first view, which is for manage scenario travel. As usual, I will be sharing this complete code with all of you, so you can use this as part of your practice purpose by changing the 00 with your number. So now travel view for composition root, I say next, finish, and now we will be writing here the database table which we will be selecting data from. So let's first write the SQL view name. So ZETS00 manage travel, and now over here we will be writing the data table. This is our primary table to create a travel request. Remember, one travel can have multiple bookings. Now we will create an association. So we already created some other agency and customer views. We will be using these agency and customer views. Okay, don't panic. So we will have agency view here. We'll use that. So ZETS 00 underscore interface view agency, and now just say underscore agency, and let's write down the relationship between. I just have agency ID. Okay, of course subject needs to be included. Then we have agency ID is compared with the primary key of agency table, which is agency ID. Compared it. Next comes is the association with customer. So similar to that, to begin with, the one which we use in unmanaged, in the same way it may look like initially, but trust me, it will change slowly. We will have projections also on top of it soon. And then we have customer, customer, customer ID, yeah, as a relationship. Let's expose the associations. So that's my basic CDS view. Now also what you can do is you have to mark the numbers. So things which are basically having currency code like total price and booking. So we will choose here annotation semantics, amount, currency code. What is representing it? It's represented by my currency code field. So my currency code field, this is what representing currency code for booking fees and total fees. I just save this up. Then we will have also this created by and last changed by. So we also can use semantics for this. Dot user dot created by user. This is my created by field. These are annotations you can use. And then you have similarly changed by, last changed by. That's another annotation. At the same time, we also have created date and time. So I can say at the rate semantic dot system date time created at true, and the last one goes as last change at true. Okay. Now, what is the benefit of this annotation? Basically, this benefit of this annotation when I am using manage scenario, in which case, whenever the data is inserted in the database table, system understand this annotation, and system also understand that whenever a new record is getting inserted, I have to insert current user ID and current timestamp. When a record is getting updated, automatically I need to update the last changed by and changed on. So that's what this annotation will tell the framework, to automatically update the date and time and the current user whenever the data is created or updated. That's the main reason why are we putting this annotation. Currency code annotation also to do validation of format and stuff like that. That's the main purpose. The another benefit of using this changed at is to later on this field will be used as a e tag. Now what is e tag, guys? Let's understand. So I will give you a quick overview on e tag. Of course there are ways to implement e tag, but let's understand what is e tag. Suppose there are two users and they both are opening a sales order. Now the user, both of them are working with same sales order in a Fiori application. So this guy open a same sales order, this guy also open a same sales order. Order number is, let's say, 500010. This is a sales order which both of them opened, and they are not aware that each of the other guy is also editing. So this guy don't know whether blue is editing, this guy don't know whether brown is editing. There are two different users sitting in two different location, but coincidentally they have opened, both of them have opened same sales order. Okay, Fiori app will not restrict that. There is no lock object as such in Fiori app, correct? Concurrency, because it's a REST protocol. Request goes to server, server does processing, respond you back. There is no state which is persisted in the backend, correct? In the REST protocol, there is no state which is persisted. That's how Fiori works. In ABAP system, when you connect via SAP logon, there is a session which is created. That's why you go for lunch. You see, sometime you get this message, session expired. Because in ABAP, it's a REST, it's basically session manager who manages the session. There is always a session which is persisted in the ABAP language, in the SAP GUI based world. But in Fiori world, when you have a Fiori app, there's no session which is persisted on the back end. It's all request response architecture. So user will not know that they both are editing same sales order. Now let's say user one fires an update request which actually updates the data in the database. So user one created a request that creates a record in the database, that updates a new record in the database, and that's what user did. It did fire, it updated. Now the 501 in the database changed. Suppose the earlier the quantity was 10 and this quantity now changed to 20. Okay, the user 2, which is not aware of this change which was done by user 1, assumes assumes that it has 10 as the sales order quantity. It just says something else. It says maybe deliver all the quantity. Okay, the user 2 click on a button on the UI, say deliver all the quantity. What do you think will happen? Or let's say user 2 also change the quantity which is visible to user 2 from 10 to 15. What do you think should happen? What is your approach, guys? If you are a developer, what do you think should happen? Or if you are the end user, what do you think should happen? First question, whose change will persist in DB? If user 2 makes a change and unaware made by other user, what should happen? Because he still see old data on UI, correct? So guys, first thing, the change, whose change will persist? The person who fired the first change will persist the first, of course. This guy have not clicked on save button, his change won't go. His change is still only on the UI. On his screen, he changed to 15. He not fired a save. This guy changed on screen and then fired a save, it updated. But now since he changed from 10 to 15, ideally, don't you think we should inform him that boss, by the time you were editing something, somebody else would have changed the data already? Would you like to load that data or would you like to discard your change? Don't you think your software should inform this user that there was a change which was made by another user on the quantity itself? In the meantime, while you were finalizing your changes, what do you want to do? You want to overwrite or you want to save? Clear, everybody? Don't you think this is the right approach of handling concurrency in a system? Because otherwise, if you simply change it, if you simply change to 15 and then this guy opens up, he will see I just changed the quantity 10 to 20, suddenly it got changed to only 15. There is a bug in the software. He will report an issue and then he get into a fight with the developer. Both of them are fighting. It's not reproducible, it is reproducible. It is not reproducible, it is reproducible. It is not reproducible, becomes a very complex fight between them. So it's a always good approach to give an overwrite and discard option just in case in the meantime the data was changed. But the question comes, in REST architecture, there is no session. There is no lock object concept like ABAP. How do you do that? In ABAP, typical ABAP dialog program, we have lock objects. So we do an enqueue, we lock using enqueue, and then when the editing is completed, we do dequeue to release the lock. And as long as lock is there on that entry, nobody else can even edit that entry. It will give an error message, you can't edit the entry. But in REST architecture, there is no locking, there is no lock object. How do you handle that? And you have to give a discard and overwrite option to inform the user to take their informed decisions. You should blindly not write it. So what approach do we use? We use e tag. What is e tag? E tag is typically a small information which is sent in the request response of OData. Okay, typically the e tag field is marked as a timestamp of updated update date. When was the record last updated? Okay, that's what e tag field is. So the moment this guy starts its change, let's say this guy updated the record at, so first of all they both have come, they open the app, they open the app at 10 o'clock. So they loaded the data at 10 o'clock. So this guy opened at 10 o'clock. Okay, 10 a.m. and this guy opened, let me just write it smaller. So this guy first opened the app at 10 o'clock, this guy opened the app at 10:05 hours. Okay, both of them open, but they don't edit by that time, and now they're watching the data, they're reading the screen, they are just doing some changes, whatever. Now this guy went ahead and updated at 10:10. Okay, and later on this guy finalized his change and he fires an update at 10:15 a.m. So this particular change at 10:15 a.m. needs to be updated as overwrite and discard option to the user. Now you see it's all very simple to understand. It's all by time. So when the first record update happened, it was at 10:10. So I will store here that boss at 10:10 I have updated the record. Okay. Now when a new update comes at 10:15, along with that I also get when was this record was given by me to this guy. So I know that I gave this record at 10:05 and there was update at 10:10 which is more than 10:05. So the day I gave the time I gave this record to this user is the time is now. By the time he come back to me for another update, I can see this 10:10 last update is more than when I last gave him the record. When I gave him the record, I gave him the record at 10:05 and at 10:10 there was an update in record. Of course this time is more than this time. As a result of that, I have to tell the user not insert, rather give him two options and then let him choose. If we say override, it's an intentional decision. He can override and then I will update this to 10:15 that there was an update. And by the time this guy who updated 10:10 and loaded it will now come back another insert. Again same process happens. It says in the meantime you were finalizing your changes, another user updated it at 10:15. I can't do it update. Would you like to overwrite and discard? So this is how we do concurrency handling using timestamp. Is this concept clear? And this data, this timestamp data is sent via a special field in OData request called etag. So etag is a field in the table etag is a field in the OData service which actually holds the timestamp of last updated record. So your Fiori will compare this timestamp of last updated and it will tell the user that, hey user, last time when you updated this was the time and now this is the record has been changed. So please would you like to discard or overwrite? Now if you want to implement etag manually in any OData service, you can go to my YouTube channel and there is a completely 4 different video series. There is a series of videos which I put it on YouTube. etag handling. Okay, etag handling OData. So you see this is the series of videos, 4 series of videos, 1 2 3 4. You can see here creating a CDS views in S4, exposing OData, then understanding the concurrency and etag in OData, then locking the data using concurrent updates, and finally handling the locks on the Fiori app, etag support with Fiori, OData and NetWeaver. This is 4 video series. You can definitely go and watch this video series. It's a great video learning which you can have it to implement locking concurrency control in a transactional application. Okay, but since we are using restful programming model, we don't have to do all this. What I did here, I've written implemented etag manually. मैंने manually implement किया इसके अंदर. So when you guys are want to do this, so this one I've updated manually. But if you want to do that in the restful programming, you just have to tell the framework, hey framework, please consider this field for etag. This we will mark it in the behavior definition. When we will build behavior definition, at that point I will show you how to mark this field as a etag field, because typically it's always the changed at when was the record last changed. That's considered to be the etag field. Cool. So that's about our first CDS model. Let's activate. Nothing exceptional till now, very easy. And let's hope, yeah, it got activated. Not a problem. Just press F8 on the other side to cross check if everything works fine. Yeah, looks good. Let's test our associations. Yeah, they're also working fine for agency. And just check for customer also. Yeah, customer is also working. Muller Lee, it's working fine. So that's our first data model. Now this is my root. You remember the DB design, the design of business object. This is going to be your root entity. So let's mark it also as a root entity right away. This is my root of the business object. यहाँ से मेरा business object start हो रहा है. That's my root. Now the next step, we will build the booking CDS. So let's build the booking CDS, the composition element or the child of the composition tree is our booking CDS. So let's follow the same naming convention, ZETS 00 manage scenario booking. So this is again mean development of business object, child node or child element, composition child. Okay, it will be a child of the parent, because one travel can have multiple bookings. So let's use the database table slash DMO bookings. Let's keep some name. And now I come here and let me put select as from slash DMO slash booking. Yeah, and let's put some standard CDS views delivered by SAP for customer, carrier and connection to do define the relationship. So remember, every booking it is mandatory. You cannot book a ticket without giving the traveler information. You cannot book the ticket without telling which is the exact flight you are booking. So booking is mandatory to have the customer, the carrier and the connection. So for that reason, we will keep cardinality as 1:1 here. And let's put customer CDS first of all, data model, demo data model slash I underscore customer. And this is my customer. And now we will be just quickly adding relationships. So customer ID is matching with my customer ID here. Yeah, that's what we'll be doing. Step one. The step two, let's also add association. Exactly one booking will have exactly one, it's a strict one-to-one relationship also between the tables. So slash DMO slash CDS views we are using directly, which are built by SAP. We are just using them carrier as care ID, airline ID. Next association 1:1, connection, connection ID, and that's my connection ID. Of course, this also includes another care ID association as well. Yeah, superb, awesome, fantastic. So that's your composition child, which is your booking CDS. And just add those associations here. Awesome, awesome, guys, awesome. So that's your composition child. But hey, they both are independent right now, correct? Your booking and your travel both are independent. Is this truly a business object yet? Anybody? Do you think it becomes a RESTful programming business object yet? Are these things a RESTful business object yet? No, no. So you have booking, you have travel, both are separate right now. They correct. They are individual right now. They don't know each other. There is no relationship between them right now. So this cannot be a business object at all. Clear, everybody? This cannot be a business object at all right now. Right now, that's a situation. So what do we do to make them interrelated, to build this relationship, to build exactly a composition, to build this kind of a business object for which is needed by the RESTful programming framework? We need to build this guy. So how to achieve that? Come back, watch out, is special syntax, guys, special syntax. I am going to say that I have a composition relationship. I'll say composition, okay, and I will make a composition here with the bookings, because one travel can have multiple booking, zero or multiple. So I will say minimum is zero, multiple is star. So one travel will have multiple bookings. Step number one. Is this syntax clear, everybody? How are we defining this composition? Is this keyword clear? Composition keyword. You see, filled rhombus, it's representing multiple bookings. One travel can have multiple bookings. Is this concept clear, everybody? What did we use? Why we use this? Step one. Yeah, clear? Awesome. So composition to what? Composition of bookings. So ZATS 00 manage scenario booking. It's a composition with booking as booking. Okay, so that's the composition which we have defined. But now, hey, gives me an error. It says the child entity booking does not have a two parent association. See, you cannot make somebody, you cannot adopt a child without their consent. You are adopting a child, the child also has to sign the consent form that yes, from today onwards, I will consider these people as my parents. So the child also has to give you consent to adopt it. So the child entity right now does not give this consent that I consider travel as my parent. That also you have to do bidirectional relationships. You have to also come back here to the booking level, and you have to also mark here to parent association to the parent. So what you do is you come back, and then you have to also say association to parent. This is mandatory. Otherwise the composition tree cannot be created, and this is what exactly you need to do if you are building sales order header and sales order line item. There will be one view for header, there will be another view for line item, and you need to establish exactly the same way the way I'm doing in this example, because here also we have same relationship, one to end relationship between booking, between travel and the booking. So now I have to give the parent here ZATS 00 manage travel. This is my parent. I consider this as my parent. Let's give some name. On what is the relationship between you guys? So I say my travel ID in my current booking view, the travel ID which I have, it's coming from the travel ID which is there in the travel table. So in the travel table, whatever travel ID is there, that is what is the condition with which we are interrelated. We are in a relationship. Okay. Now, also we have to add this travel as part of selection list, which is an important step. We just have to do that. Save this. And now see, we are done. Let's activate the booking first. Let me activate booking first. Done. Let me activate the travel first. Travel now. So earlier you were getting this error. Now just activate. And what do we see? Awesome, guys. Congratulations. Are you clear how you build your business object for RESTful ABAP programming model whenever you have a parent-child relationship with 1:n cardinality? This is applicable for both managed and unmanaged scenario, not just alone for not just alone for managed scenario. You can also do the same activity in unmanaged scenario as well. Clear, everybody? All the variety of examples I'm showcasing you, so you guys get comfortable with this concept. Okay, is that clear? So that's about your business object which is now modeled. Now the next step comes is the behavior definition. So you see the step one is complete. We have built this data model. Our business object modeling is complete. We move to step two, building your behavior definition for managed scenario. Easy. Let's go ahead and do that. So now watch out, guys. I'll go back to the here, and now right click on this, and I just choose option for creating a behavior definition. See the power of ABAP ADT, it understand now this relationship which you just maintained, the composition relationship which you just maintained between these views. It will understand it, and it now understand and treat this whole thing, whole structure as a business object. और अभी ये क्या करेगा? In the behavior definition, it will automatically get two behavior definition because you have two different views. All right, so watch out. I create behavior definition, and you see it's just saying with this name, no problem. I'm choosing managed this time. Last time we chose unmanaged. I say next, finish, and watch out guys what happens now as a result. Voila, can you see managed on the top, the step one, and you see now two definitions in the same file, one for travel, one for booking. Remember my words, there is exactly one behavior definition per CDS view. So one for travel, one for booking. एक CDS का एक behavior definition. It's in the same file. Okay. And now you see what it has to say. It is saying that I have I'm going to store data in this table. It's generated because it's a managed scenario. You are not telling the system where to write the data. You are not writing function module code anymore to insert, update, delete, which we did in unmanaged scenario. In managed scenario, this will be taken care by framework. SAP RESTful ABAP framework will take care of insert, update, delete automatically, including locking, unlocking data with ETag. Everything will be taken care by SAP system automatically. Okay, that's where in the syntax of manage now you have to specify the DB table in which the SAP will write the data. The RESTful programming model will write the data. That's what the step. Now it's also mandatory to uncomment the lock master. Okay, this is mandatory. So you see the ETag master field is awesome guys. Remember the field name, we have already marked it, ETag master, the change that field, control space, change that field. Yeah, this was marked as a ETag master. So I want to do concurrency handling, so I'll also uncomment. It is mandatory to uncomment lock master because suppose you are editing the child, you are editing line item. When you are editing line item of a sales order, the whole sales order should get logged based on the parent ID, based on the sales order ID. So if you are editing line item of a sales order individually, you also would want to lock the parent because you are actually editing sales order by editing that line item. So that's why this step is also important. And you also have to specify the relationship for the lock dependency. So basically it's the lock is based on travel ID field. That's a foreign key primary key relationship. Just put that over here in this. Now another interesting thing, since it's a composition, let me ask one question. Can you create a booking independently without creating a travel? Is it possible in our scenario to create a booking without creating a travel? Is it possible in our scenario to create a booking without creating travel? Is it possible? What do you think, guys? Is it possible to create booking without creating travel? Is it possible? Can you book a ticket without creating a travel, without planning a travel? Not possible. That's the reason you see here association booking. The create is only and only possible with the create, update, delete of the travel. See here. You cannot individually create booking because it's a composition. Since it's a composition, first you have to create a travel request. Under the travel request, then only you can add a booking inside. You cannot directly go ahead and create a booking manually. You cannot do that. It's not possible. Okay, it's not possible. So now in the next subsequent step for the booking here, okay, for the booking here, you see here booking update and delete is possible if it is created, but creation of booking will always happen with the help of travel only. That's our relationships. Now I'm going to activate this behavior definition. And we will close today's class here, because in next subsequent class we have to step by step go and build a projection for scenario 1, then create data binding, create a Fiori application, and understand the behavior implementation with hook methods. All of these we will be learning in our next class. And next to next, we will also be building the second scenario on the right side, creating the projection, creating the definition, creating the Fiori app, and we will be adding some extra functionality like copy from template. Yeah, all this kind of functionality we will be learning and adding also to our layers. With that, it's a wrap on today's class. Thank you so much for joining. Please do create this in your system, your ABAP on cloud system. Practice this and then come back with your doubts in the next session. Catch you up next weekend. Have a nice day and goodbye. Time for your questions. There's a question: are we allocating most of our time for managed unmanaged scenario main concepts, or are there other concepts? So there are other concepts. If you just look at our PPT headline, you would see we have concepts like building an extension. So I will also show you how to build a extension, a cloud extension. Okay, that is also another scenario. We will learn about Git repository with ABAP Git. We will be learning. Then we will also be building a Fiori application. How to build a Fiori app. So now you build this managed scenario and managed scenario. How will you build the Fiori app? How will you add this Fiori app to the launchpad in the cloud platform? How do you give access to your end user for these Fiori apps which you will be building completely from scratch? So currently we are working on the middleware layer. We are just previewing the app. But what about if I want to build a Fiori app and give that access to the people? We will also learn how to pull the data from your SAP system and push it into the cloud platform using SAP ABAP on cloud. So there are a lot of these concepts which are yet to come. You need to stay tuned. I understand your curiosity and excitement, but unfortunately I don't have videos of my last batch which I can share with you for all. The major chunk of ABAP on cloud is utilizing the RESTful ABAP programming. Of course, that's the major chunk of our course. That's taking most of the time during this course to make you aware of RESTful ABAP programming model. This programming model exclusively only covered in this training. I'm not even covering this in ABAP on HANA training. ABAP on HANA training still covering the old scenario, which is CDS BOPF integration, because still the industry is evolving. I see still companies are using old ECC system. They don't have any plan to go to HANA or S4 right now. They are still struggling with dialogue programming. They don't even talk about UI5. So this is the state of the industry today. There are some people who are in migration phase to HANA, some are on to S4. People are still not wake up. They're still sleeping. So it will take some time for industry to ramp up. You are learning the cutting edge latest concepts here in the training. So that's the reason we are only covering the cutting edge concept in this course. This is the latest up to date state as of now in the market. We'll be discussing analytic Fiori app template. No, that's covered already as part of my Fiori advanced training. Please subscribe my Fiori advanced training to understand how to build OVP and ALP application. If you want to go more deeper for S4 analytics, subscribe my S4 HANA cloud course where I've covered 5 pillars of analytics. S4 HANA embedded analytics, which includes query browser, KPI modeler, OVP, ALP, and APF. These are all the 5 pillars of S4 HANA embedded analytics, which are actually covered in my advanced Fury, sorry, in my S4 HANA cloud extension training. You can take that particular training for that. All right. With that, thank you so much. Catch you up to on next weekend. Have a nice day.